Do Medicare agents have a future? This is a question I've gotten more times in the past 6 to 12 months than the entirety of my 12-year career previous to this combined, okay? And where is this question coming from? Well, in this video, we're going to dive into why agents are asking this question all of a sudden and what I believe the truth of the answer really is. My name is Christian Brindle. I run an insurance agency called Everything Senior Insurance that acts as a brick and mortar office making up thousands of Medicare clients, as well as an FMO servicing a huge, vast amount of agents nationwide. We also own a lead company called Lead Heroes. We also own a virtual staffing company called Hire Heroes that helps agents find virtual assistants. We also own a CRM called 7-Figure CRM, and we host the ever-popular 7-Figure Medicare Agent Summit. And this is a question that has popped up a lot. I first started hearing this probably in 2022, 2023 timeframes. And this all kind of started with the regulations that were coming down due to the CMS leadership and the CMS administration under the leadership of Chiquita Brooks LaShore, who was our previous CMS admin under the Biden administration. For those of you that don't know, the CMS admin is someone that's appointed by the President of the United States. Okay, it's a presidential appointed position. So typically it's not uncommon for when the White House changes hands that, just like several other prominent positions such as the FBI director as an example, that the CMS administrator also might be changed because new president comes in and the new president appoints a new head of that position. And the person that was chosen to take the place of Chiquita Brooks LaShore was none other than Mehmet Oz. That's right, Dr. Oz, for those of you that don't know. But under the leadership of Chiquita Brooks LaShore, there was yearly radical final rules coming down that were passing down crushing regulations on the backs of independent agents. It started with Final Rule 2022, where agents were required to record all of their phone calls and store them for 10 years. Now, that might not seem as big of a deal right now because it is a rule for sales calls, but at that point in time, there was a lot of agents out there that were operating just off of their phones. They might have just completely operated in the field, and they didn't have the infrastructure or the technology to kind of do that. And at that first final rule, it was passed down in the form of every single call with a client ever, not just a sales call. Then Final Rule 2023 came out, and that brought back, amongst other things, the 48-hour scope of appointment rule, which had been done away with years prior, meaning that you need to get a scope of appointment signed 48 hours before you actually do an enrollment for a Medicare Advantage plan or Part D prescription drug plan. Then Final Rule 2024 came, and it brought a series of rule changes that were trying to eliminate all Medicare administrative payments. This meant HRAs on applications. This meant potentially overrides that FMOs receive on agents that they service. This potentially could have meant a huge variety of different things, such as marketing money, co-op, everything like that. And that was going to shift and turn the industry in many ways on its head. This rule was fought in court and thankfully was mostly pulled back, and the court sided with the Medicare agent community and did not allow most of these rule changes to ever see the light of day. Now, fast forward to now, what are we seeing that's causing agents the most fear and anxiety these days going into 2026? Well, it has everything to do with carriers implementing non-commissionable and suppressed plans in ways that we've never seen before, unprecedented, we might say. This all started with the bill that was passed in the government in 2022 called the Inflation Reduction Act. So the Inflation Reduction Act passes, and long story short of it, there's all kinds of things that had to do with the economy in this bill, but there was a myriad of different things that had to do with Medicare prescription drug coverage. And with that, implemented a $2,000 max out-of-pocket cap on all Medicare plans that offered Part D prescription drug coverage. I'm sure you know this by now. This meant that the insurance companies that were operating on the previous Part D model of 4 stages, right? Deductible stage, initial coverage stage, donut hole stage, and then catastrophic coverage stage, from 2005 to 2006, all the way now to 2025, now had to quickly figure out a new model of what they could surround Medicare Advantage plans with in terms of additional benefits, like medical benefits, like dental, vision, hearing, like network availability, like ancillary benefits in addition to dental, vision, hearing, like over-the-counter item benefits, gym membership benefits, and things like that, right? The plans had to be thought about a different way, and they had to be restructured, and this was going to take a 2 to 3 year shift. I've talked about this a lot on this platform, but this has caused a lot of plans to have to play a very convoluted and complex game of chess behind the scenes in terms of trying to offer the plans that are most profitable for them while phasing out plans over a period of time, mainly due to the fact that they can only phase away so many plans and terminate so many plans at a time, right? It's not good for them to pull all of their plans off the market simultaneously. It's something that has to happen gradually over time. But the model that a lot of these plans were built off of was built in a way to where we had the donut hole in place, and we had, for many years, no prescription drug maximum out-of-pocket limits. So the carriers are paying out much more in prescription drug plan claims, and that money has to come from somewhere. They have to readjust and rethink the way these plans look, okay? So starting last year in 2024, we started seeing a lot of plans make the decision and the determination to make a lot of their plans non-commissionable. And what made it really unprecedented, for lack of a better word, is it was happening mostly during AEP last year. It was happening to where it was right in the middle of AEP. It was in October, it was in November, and we had never seen carriers make changes like that before. We've also seen a historic rise in the cost of medical care over the years. So these multiple aspects of this kind of factoring together had a lot to do with why plans just didn't seem viable anymore in the eyes of carriers. We saw this continue into quarter 1 and quarter 2 in 2025, where carriers were putting out more lists of plans that went non-commissionable. Now, in AEP of 2024 going into 2025, we saw a record margin. Millions of plans and millions of Medicare beneficiaries saw their plans terminate and lose coverage. This was because the carriers are in the middle of this shift. All of the experts in the Medicare space have said that we're going to see a 2 to 3 year shift where there's going to be a lot of disruption and the market will need to correct. Okay. Now, that being said, there's plans and certain markets entirely for some carriers that they have decided to make a lot of their plans, if not all of their plans, non-commissionable. And other areas where that on the plans they've made non-commissionable, they've decided to suppress these plans, meaning that what we're seeing is the plans are being pulled from enrollment platforms. The plans are not being offered publicly and made available to the public in a very easy fashion, right? They're kind of hidden behind the scenes and pushed down in a way because they don't want the people enrolling into those plans. Now, lately, we've seen the Idaho and the Delaware Departments of Insurance come forward and essentially reprimand these carriers and publicly speak against what they're doing in terms of the plan suppressions and the non-commissionable plans. Now, this comes down to a money issue. The carriers either need to pull benefits away from other areas of the plans to make the prescription drug coverage work, or their funding needs to be increased exponentially for the dollars and cents to work to offer plans as they would have been before. The only other solution to that is we need to go through a reset. Again, this is a math equation, right? Carriers have to spend 85% of their funding towards the benefits of a specific plan. The other concern that's really caused a lot of anxiety and fear in the minds of many agents across the country is technological advancements with AI. Will AI be able to replace agents entirely to where an AI can literally shop through the options in a quicker, more efficient manner and do enrollments itself better than an agent ever could. And that could make agents potentially obsolete. These are all the fears that agents are seeing right now. That combined with the fears that a lot of agents do feel like, based on what we're seeing, that they don't view it as a market correction and carriers trying to suppress enrollments into plans that aren't profitable for them, but more so as the carriers are trying to, over a long period of time, slowly pull commissions to where eventually there will be no more commissionable plans available for agents to sell. Now, that might sound conspiratorial for many of you, and I certainly believe that it is, but there are a growing segment of agents that actually do believe that this is the case. In this video going forward, I'm going to tell you exactly what I believe, okay? I believe that we have seen multiple shifts throughout history when it comes to the Medicare market and also health insurance markets, okay? In the 90s, there were versions of managed care plans that existed in many parts of the country that were done away with, that lasted about 3 to 4 years and were terminated entirely because the government and the insurance companies could not see eye to eye on the way to make the funding work. And all of these plans had the plug pulled in most areas. Medicare Advantage plans and managed care plans like that didn't exist for some time, and there was only Medicare supplements. But that was a massive industry shift we saw at that point of time. There was a lot of people at that time that thought this was a doomsday event. There's a lot of people that in historic numbers left the Medicare space that were individual brokers. That was a bad move. Go into 2005, 2006, Medicare Part D is introduced, as well as managed care plans that once again in the form of Medicare Advantage plans. This was a historic change and a reset of many fashions, right? A lot of people decided to leave Medicare supplement insurance and go into Medicare Advantage plans, and people that had Medicare supplement insurance decided to also add Part D prescription drug plans into what they had, okay? This was a historic shift. A lot of people saw the writing on the wall that were Medicare supplement purists and deemed Medicare Advantage as evil, and it will slowly overtake the Medicare supplement market. They got out in historic numbers, okay? If you look at ACA as a parallel, ACA comes into the fray in 2009, 2010, 2011, whatever that time frame would have been. ACA comes into the fray. Individual health insurance for under 65 individuals was allowed to discriminate based on health and ask health questions previously. People that had chronic health problems paid more premiums, while people that were healthier paid lower premiums. This changed almost overnight to where that wasn't allowed anymore, and no insurance company could ask health questions. Now, you might look at that as a good thing, but if you look at what's going on right now with the government shutdown, a lot of it has to do with the unaffordability of ACA, and there's really no long-term solution to fix it without incredibly vast government financial support, because it doesn't work all the way not to ask health questions at times, unless you're just having the government supersede and feed this program to no end. With the rising cost of medical care, that makes those numbers higher and higher and higher. Not saying that the old system was the way to go, but maybe the system that was introduced wasn't the best. I'll let you be the judge of that. But during that period of time, we saw a 5 to 7 year time span where many carriers deemed that they did not want to be in the ACA market anymore. They decided to pull out, and many agents decided to walk away from that market entirely during that period of time as well. There was many plans that didn't pay any commissions. There was very few carriers in many areas. There was even government-created insurance companies that were implemented into certain areas in the country to create competition because it was that bad. The fewer options available, the less competition available. Usually that ends up working to the detriment of the members in that particular community. ACA bounced back. Now, if you look at Medicare, right? Medicare's seen its ups and downs in terms of this. What we're seeing right now is a market shift. And in my opinion, there are a lot of people that are getting out of the space. I've publicly talked about this a lot. And I'm calling it the thinning of the herd. It's not a bad thing. If you've been in this industry for a long time, you plan on being in this industry for a long time, You need the herd to thin at times. There's probably too many Medicare agents in the country right now. We're getting to that point. It's still a huge opportunity. There's still 65 to 70 million Medicare beneficiaries in the United States of America. That being said, if there is 100,000 to 200,000 Medicare agents in the country, do you really need that many? The answer is probably not. And not all of them do a very good job, sorry to say. I think most of you that might be seasoned veterans in this space can agree with me on that. So, to answer the question, right, do we have a future long term? The short answer is yes, of course we do. What we're seeing right now is a market shift, a reset, a correction of sorts, where the structure of what a Medicare Advantage plan is going to look like is going to need to change dramatically to abide by the new rules that the Medicare Part D prescription drug companies are required to follow. It can't look exactly like a plan did 5 years ago, 10 years ago even. These benefits need to change quite a bit to surround the prescription drug plan option. And that's, I believe, what we're seeing. If you look at the trends from plans that went non-commissionable nationwide last AEP in 2024 and earlier this year in 2025, a vast majority of those plans had their contracts end at the end of the calendar year of 2025. They had SARs, service area reductions, on the plan, meaning the plan pulled out and terminated everybody at the end of the year. We're seeing millions of people have their plans terminated. This AEP, we saw millions of people have their plans terminated last AEP, which were record highs and record margins for Medicare Advantage terminations. What this tells us is plans that are being put as suppressed or non-commissionable, the trend does show us that sooner rather than later, the carrier does have the intention of pulling the plug on that plan. We've seen this over the past couple of years. So any plans that you're seeing go non-commissionable now probably don't have a very long shelf life. They're probably going to have their plan terminated in the next 1 to 2 years would be my guess, the vast majority of them. You'll see plan benefits erode a little bit. You'll see plan benefits change quite a bit. You'll also see new plans being entered into the market to take the place of the ones that are being terminated, and this is where the correction will happen. I don't believe that we're seeing a situation right now where plans are just trying to cut out the agents, and that is the master plan of what they're seeing. You could make that argument on individual PDPs, Part D prescription drug plans, but those were never very economically viable for the carriers anyway. So when they're squeezed financially on those, it just doesn't make sense for them to pay any commissions on those. That being said, Medicare Advantage plans get anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 a month in funding per member in various different parts of the country. 85% of that funding has to go into the plan. An agent's compensation is usually in the ballpark of about $25 a month. So if you're a carrier and let's say you're getting $1,200 a month in funding, do you really feel like a plan being economically viable is going to hinge on the fact if they have to pay out that extra $25 a month or not? No, it's not going to push the plan into the green or the red on the financial viability of the plan. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's a very pretentious type of thought process that the agents have when they look at it from the standpoint of my commission that I'm getting every month, my $25 a month in commission is going to make or break this plan. No, it's not. I guarantee you. It has everything to do with whether these plans are economically viable or not. Now, have the carriers handled all of this correctly? Certainly not. And I'll be the first to say that. But I do believe we're in a correction. We're in the middle of a correction. The market will stabilize and there's a very bright future for agents. Now, when it comes to AI and technology, what do I think there? Well, first of all, AI is going to have to go through a lot of developments, a lot of scandals, a lot of regulations before we ever get anywhere close to an AI being able to actually take an enrollment compliantly. Also, we're not going to see some master AI that comes in and takes over everything. You're going to see the smart organizations and the smart agencies build out AIs, use AI internally to help make their own business better. So if you plan on being in this business long term, Having AI being in the discussion and in the plans of your long-term growth is probably a good idea. It doesn't have to be super fancy. It doesn't have to be building an AI tomorrow that can do an enrollment. That's not even necessarily a possibility right now with compliance and regulation rules. But maybe it starts slow with having AI be a part of your business. Maybe you're using a large language model to do research for you. Maybe you're using a large language model to fact check things for you, to help write emails, to help write letters, to help write contracts, to help write content. Little things like that, and introducing AI into the crux of what your business really is going to be what separates people, and the people that start to have that evolution of having AI help their business run better, more efficiently, and more profitably. The smart agencies are going to use AI. The smart agencies are not afraid of AI, and the ones that won't use AI and the ones that cling to old ways, the agents that cling to house appointments, the agents that cling to faxing apps, paper apps, and everything else in between, those agents are going to be the ones that probably find themselves without a career in the next 5 to 10 years. Agents that are forward thinking, that believe there's a future in this business, they're the ones that are going to thrive. I've heard a lot of people say right now, the Medicare business is going down. I have not seen actually anybody that is an incredibly powerful, influential voice in this industry say that. I've had a lot of private conversations behind the scene. Everybody agrees we're in a market correction right now. Agents only see what's in front of their own faces, though. They only see what's happening in the here or the now, and they don't want to let the market correct, and they get into conspiracy theories. But in my opinion, that's the vast majority of what they are. Do I believe that the carriers need to be kept in check? Otherwise, bad things could potentially happen? Yes, I do. And that's where we rely on organizations like NABIP, HAFA, and also our state DOIs and CMS to keep them in check. But that being said, the carriers understand that agents are a very cheap, in the scheme of things, way of distributing their products and a very non-risky way of distributing their products. They always have, and I believe they will for the foreseeable future. They don't have to pay us agents a salary. If we do something wrong, they can terminate our contract and say it was the actions of an independent contractor. They do have a lot less risk than if they employ an agent and that agent makes a mistake or screws up. They also have a much higher monetary investment into that agent. If they contract an agent and that agent never sells a policy for them and they end up being a dud, well, the financial dollar amount that carrier has actually put into that agent is relatively low, if not almost zero. It's no skin off their nose if you contract as an independent contractor and don't do anything from there. But if you can't make it as an agent that they hire, that's on their payroll, that's a totally different story. Agents are looked at as a very low risk, very high upside contributor to a carrier's bottom line. They have for a long time. I don't believe that's going to change. How long do agents have? Do we have 5 years left? Do we have 10 years left? It's hard to say, but I believe that we have a very bright future for many years to come. And our organization at Everything Senior Insurance is hugely invested into the Medicare space. It doesn't mean that's the only type of insurance we're going to be doing, but we do believe that there's a bright future in it, and we have no reason to believe otherwise. If you guys enjoyed this video, do us a favor. Smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm so more scared and freaked out agents can find this video easier, and maybe we can put their mind at ease with a little bit of information of what we're seeing at the top. Comment your thoughts down below. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to have a friendly dialogue with you about it. Reasonable minds can differ. Also, make sure to subscribe. We put out weekly videos to help you grow your business. And until next time, everybody, here's to your massive success. Wishing you the best rest of AEP in November. And until next time, everybody, here's to your massive success. Thank you.